Taoiseach, when do you think it all began to go wrong? When did your housing policy begin to unravel? Was it in 2014 when Fine Gael first promised to tackle the housing crisis? Was it in 2015 when just 75 social homes were built by local authorities, the lowest figure in the history of the state? Was it in 2016 when Fine Gael promised to end the use of hotels to house homeless people within 1 year? Was it in 2017 when Fine Gael introduced strategic housing developments that bypassed local planning and broke on board Planola? Was it in 2018 when you described the housing crisis as a national emergency? Was it in 2019 when a 5-year-old homeless boy was pictured eating his dinner off a piece of cardboard on a street? Was it in 2020 when co-living developments, which Fine Gael championed as very trendy and an exciting choice for young workers, were quietly scrapped? Was it in 2021 when it was revealed that vulture funds were buying up entire housing estates? Was it in 2022 when there was a staffing crisis in schools and hospitals because teachers and nurses could no longer afford to rent? Or was it this year, this moment, when homeless figures reached record highs and you decided to lift the eviction ban and make thousands of people homeless? Taoiseach, your decision to lift the eviction ban, the only protection for thousands of people against homelessness, seems inexplicable. People do not understand why any Irish government would make a conscious and a deliberate choice to vote for mass homelessness. But placed in the context of so many years of Fine Gael's bad decision-making, perhaps it's not so surprising. You've never made the right decisions on housing. Why would we expect you to start now? Your entire tenure in office has been one long litany of broken promises and abject failure on housing, turning a housing crisis into a housing disaster. Each year, we think things can't get any worse, yet somehow, under Fine Gael, they do. This isn't just a credibility issue for Fine Gael. Frankly, your party has none on housing, that's long gone. This is about the misery your failed policies are causing to men, women and children in every corner of the country. No area is immune from the wrecking ball of your disastrous housing policies. But this decision is particularly cruel. Homelessness isn't just a housing issue, it's a societal catastrophe. The profoundly negative impacts on children are especially devastating. And your government will today vote to inflict that damage on them. Taoiseach, I would ask you to reverse your decision, but you've already told me you're not for turning.
Time is up, Deputy.
So can you clarify, when did it all go wrong? When did your housing policy begin to unravel?
Taoiseach, please.
Thanks, Deputy. At the outset, I acknowledge, and everyone on this side of the House, and all three parties in government, and we are a three-party government, acknowledge that we're facing a very serious housing crisis, indeed a housing emergency that's affecting people in all sorts of different ways, whether it's people having to pay very high rents, whether it's people who are experiencing homelessness, whether it's people who are struggling to find their first place to buy to get on the housing ladder, to use that term. We have a housing deficit of probably somewhere around 250,000 units. And there are lots of reasons as to why that's the case, and I'm happy to explore them with you at another time or later in this debate if you so wish. But I think most people acknowledge that we have, for lots of different reasons, a very major housing deficit in this country of probably about 250,000 homes. So we have a mountain to climb, and we have a mountain to climb, but we're climbing that mountain step by step. And you mentioned lots of different years in your response. Allow me to mention three: 2022, 2023, 1975 and 2007. And let me explain why I'm picking those years. 2022, 30,000 new homes built in this country. That's the highest since 2007. That's our housing policy going right. More homes built last year than any year in 15. 2022, figures will be confirmed in a few weeks' time. Roughly 8,000 new social houses built in this state, more than any year since 1975. That's more than my lifetime or your lifetime. No government more committed to social housing in your lifetime or mine. And the final date, Deputy, January 2023, January of this year, the year in which we had more first-time buyers buying their first home than any year since records began in 2010. Surely that's something that you can acknowledge.
9 years of turning corners. Taoiseach, it should be clear to you by now that you're not turning corners, you're blatantly going around in circles. For nearly a decade, you've claimed to have the answers to a housing disaster. Every year, for years, you say things are about to improve. People just need to be patient. You just need a bit more time. It's the opposition's fault. The reality is, you don't even believe it yourself. You say you can't extend the eviction ban until next year because that defers the crisis. So in other words, you don't believe the situation will have improved. In fact, you say it would be worse. So nothing you say you could do in the coming year would be enough to make a difference. If that isn't an indictment of your government's approach to housing, I honestly don't know what is. Taoiseach, your housing policy is a failure, which is causing devastation and trauma all over the country. When will you admit this?
Thank you, Deputy Cairns. Taoiseach.
Thanks, Deputy. I think in my last response, I acknowledged the housing crisis and the housing emergency and the impact that's having on people. I think I've acknowledged that many times, and I'll continue to do so because I think it's important to do so and right to do so. Deputy, I haven't said that we've turned the corner in the housing crisis. I've never said that. The Taoiseach said that we've turned the corner on new home construction, which clearly is a different thing, and he's correct in that regard. But Deputy, when I see posters for your party, I see the three things that you say you stand for, and one of the things is honest politics. Deputy, it's not honest politics to falsify quotes or misquote me or to misrepresent the Taoiseach. That is not honest politics, and we're hoping for a different type of politics from you. And it's clear that we're not going to get that from you, unfortunately. And certainly, Deputy, it's not my intention or desire to try to deceive anyone. I set out some facts, and they are facts. Why is it so hard for you to acknowledge that? 30,000 homes built last year, more than any year in 15. 8,000 social houses built last year, more than any year in your lifetime or mine. And more first-time buyers buying their first home in January of this year than any year since 2010. Is it because you don't want those things to be true?
Thank you very much. We move on to Deputy